Never miss an episode of the Final Furlong podcast. Subscribe now on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And now, here's your host, Emmet Kennedy.
It is great to have your company as we look back on the big talking points on a bonkers weekend at Glorious Goodwood. Was it really glorious? I'm not so sure. We'll do so in the company of some of our favourite pundits. Adam Mills returns to the Final Furlong podcast. People were getting worried, Adam. People were starting to think, oh no, where's he gone? He's back. Adam Mills returns. And Jamie Wrenn, one of our favourites, returns to the show as well. Boys, you're very welcome back. Looking forward to getting your insight as we begin by talking about the Sussex Stakes. We warned you, Paige Fuller and I warned you about Field of Gold. He did obviously have an injury. How did Qirat win the Sussex Stakes, Adam Mills?
Because the 5 jockeys behind the pacemakers made an enormous mistake. And that's the only way to describe it. The easiest way to do this, and I know everyone's like intersectional times, but the simplest way is watch Notable Speeches win 12 months earlier, side by side with Qirat. And when you watch it, the pacemakers have gone quite hard. There's a bit of a gap opened up. Actually, Qirat's behind Notable Speech for most of the race. So while visually it looks like the 2 pacemakers are getting on with it, it just doesn't happen. They're not that quick. And as a result, I mean, you can tell they're not that quick because let's face it, Serengeti is not the sharpest tool in Aidan O'Brien's shed by any means. And at the 2 furlong pole, if Wayne Gordon really threw his kitchen sink, he might have still finished 3rd or 4th, which shows you kind of how can a horse rated in the 90s be anywhere near that? It's just a bit of a shambles. At the 4 furlong pole, no one reacts. At the 3 furlong pole, they're only just starting to react. And really, it's only when we get to the final 2 furlongs that what you would call the Group 1 horses are actually really being thrown at Qirat. And by that stage, Qirat is not the worst horse in the world. And if you're going to give him 8-9 lengths, you're not going to make it back on a downhill finish. Really clever ride by Kingscote. You know, it would have been very easy for Richard Kingscote to get to the 2 furlong pole and think, fuck, let me make this look good. Excuse my French, I don't know where I came from, but let me make this look good. Drop my hands. And, you know, if one of them comes past me, so be it. But Richard Kingscote had the brains to look and go, you know, my job's done. You weren't good enough to come with me. Let's go. Qirat's ridden out, does the business. Look, does anyone think Qirat is a Group 1 horse? No, definitely not. For those of us who backed him at Royal Ascot, we are left scratching our heads as to how the hell this has happened. But you also have to look and think, well, the final 3, if you look at the final furlong time, 11.52, he's only 0.04 seconds slower than Henri Matisse in 3rd. So it's not an impossible thing to think that Qirat is a 100-plus horse and probably a Group 3 performer. Nice effort for him. Unusual result, to say the least. And I think the embarrassment of the pundits I was watching on Racing TV of thinking, how do we describe this? Because let's face it, we've got the biggest prize winner of a Group 1 in the UK that we've ever had. And no one really understands how to word it. Those in behind, you know, Sean Levy's probably a bit unlucky with Rosallion. Henri Matisse wasn't good enough. Field of Gold has an injury, that's fair enough. I think we can all agree Docklands is only good at Ascot and really isn't the same horse elsewhere. So you put a line through all of that. Is Rosallion unlucky? Well, probably. But I think it all goes back to the start. At the start, Serengeti misses the break. That kind of confuses a few people. Serengeti, and I just think visually the jockey switched off. Visually they thought, oh, he's gone. There we go. There's the pace. This is fine. And they failed to realise that they're not actually going that fast. They've just opened up a gap and no one's bothered to close it.
Yeah, I was doing the live coverage on TalkSport 2. I was presenting the Wednesday and Thursday, pundit on Tuesday and Friday. And right after the race, Jamie Wrenn, I look at the form and I'm reminded of the fact that back in August of last year, Qirat beat Witness Stand in a 7 furlong handicap and was unbeaten in 2 starts at the track. And I'm like, how? I said this on air. How did we not think that this horse was some kind of an each-way bet? And then instantly slapped myself in the face and went, even with that knowledge, you knew that beforehand, you still wouldn't back him because he's a pacemaker. He's 20 pounds wrong at the weights. He has no chance, and yet he is the winner of the 2025 Sussex Stakes. And in a way, his win kind of summed up all of Goodwood. It's no one's fault. It's just the whole thing was kind of a mess.
Yeah, farce of a race, really, Emmet. No one, like, you see when Serengeti came around the corner there at the top of it, like, you knew he wasn't going to stay there. But Qirat still had a little bit more breathing space before behind it, like, you know what I mean? You kind of knew he was going to win. And you kind of an age to get to them. But I suppose, like Adam said there, like I'm judging like a horse that you like, an Henri Matisse. I'm like, if they really went quick, that suits Henri Matisse better. And the way he won the French 2000 Guineas, he needs absolute monster pace. And when he goes out like the light there, when he looked like he was going to win up the inside, he just didn't look stopped. Then behind him is Docklands, exactly what Adam says. He's only good at Ascot. Fair enough, Field of Gold was lame, whatever. But like for Richard Hannon, I'm going to be a bit critical here. For Richard Hannon to come out and say that we still have the best miler in Europe, but he can't go past the No. I know the mile division is blown wide open, but I would still have my doubts about him going past the horse, even if they go fast enough, slow enough in a mile Group 1. He's probably going to be in, obviously, these horses going to be in their main target at the end of the season. This is a QE2 at Ascot, but Card Spackler, what you do with that horse? Gone to Gahden now to make a difference.
Gosden's don't have him. I presume they'll work backwards from the Breeders' Cup mile, but does anyone...
Like Kingsgood said, like, you know, he had great form at Goodwood. Is he like a Docklands? Does he win at Goodwood, maybe? Goodwood, I think, for their specific tracks that they like, and he's won twice at Goodwood, and I suppose that's what they're saying, but no. Look, would I forgive Field of Gold? I would, going forward. Yeah, I still think he's the best out of all of them. But
I'd really want to see a match race. I really want to see a match race between Zaragoza and Rosallion, and they somehow both managed to find a way to get beaten.
I still take the two of them on if they're against each other.
It's a straight match race. Zaragoza and Rosallion, they both unseat or something ridiculous.
Don't you stick in there then? You'd have Zaragoza, Rosallion, and January. See if they could win a Group 1 over a mile together. And they would still be beaten.
Yeah, my favourite Fallen Angel managed to bounce back, and one of the few races that I decided, I'll just sit back and watch this one. It's like, oh, what a fool. The injury to Field of Gold. So Jamie is saying he would keep the faith with him. I read some interesting talking points about this over the last few weeks, or last few days, I should say, and we're by no means veterinary experts. But when we brought this up on TalkSport 2, instantly Lizzie Kelly said, is he injured? Is he? Isn't this quite convenient that this excuse is coming along? And the reason I mentioned this is because Louis Stewart was co-presenting with me. He was the pundit, I was presenter. And he starts laughing and going, yeah, it is quite convenient. And I said, well, look, if a horse is lame the next day, would that not manifest itself on the day? Would it not be very obvious when they walk into the parade ring? And he said, that's the word, obvious. It should have been obvious to them in the unsaddling enclosure. It should have been obvious to them when they got him back to Kingsclear. They didn't see any of that. So there's just a slight raised eyebrow. And I guess when you hear about Group 1 horses underperforming, Aidan O'Brien seems to just get thrown under the bus every time he says, oh, well, the reason Auguste Rodin got beaten is my fault. The reason City of Troy got beaten is my fault. And many people in British media want to bash him for that. But the second John Gosden says, oh, well, the reason that Field of Gold was beaten, this perfectly balanced, incredible superstar colt, is because he was lame. Oh, that's fine. Thanks. Do you buy it, Adam?
Yeah, I do. Sorry, I can't be having this. This is not Constitution Hill. This is Field of Gold. It's like the media circus. You know,
You just took the words out of you. Actually afterwards. Actually, it was in my head.
I won't do the Nicky Anderson impression.
If Henderson said that,
it looked. This wasn't Field of Gold, and the reason it wasn't Field of Gold is because if you look at where they are at the 4 furlong pole, I would think in a slowly run race, Field of Gold will bury Henri Matisse. Absolutely bury him. He's got an electric turn of foot, and he's not travelling. The head slightly one side. I'm sure he was feeling something, so I can't be having that. And to be honest, I get the impression that John Gosden is a man of his word, and I think.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
I don't think they would come out and say that he wasn't lame. And also, the other thing to bear in mind is if they felt that he was fine and it just didn't go to plan, you'd go all in for that Juvenile International. And they've already come out and ruled him out.
Yeah.
So, no, I can't be having that. No.
I mentioned this, by the way, not because it's my opinion, but because I have to throw this stuff out there every now and again. And it is worth pointing out that every time Aidan O'Brien gives an excuse, which is perfectly legitimate, there are plenty of people in British racing media who'll say, another excuse. City of Troy won 3 consecutive Group 1s last season. Field of Gold hasn't done that. Augusta Rodan won 4 Group 1s in his 3-year-old season. Field of Gold won't do that this season. I think he'll have one more chance to win a Group 1, and there's no guarantee that he will do it. And it is also worth pointing out now, Field of Gold has been beaten in more Group 1s than he's won. But he absolutely gets a pass for that, because you're expecting him to quicken up and pick up, and he just doesn't. And the only thing that would have made sense to me, Jamie, is, well, maybe the speed-favouring nature of Goodwood didn't help him, and he just became unbalanced on the track, and that's why he didn't pick up. But the fact that they're then able to say the next day, actually, he was lame. And it's also worth pointing out, I did watch ITV's coverage, Matt Chapman can't help himself. Kieran Schumacher was clearly very badly treated. But Matt Chapman is just the chairman of the Kieran Schumacher fan club, and at every single opportunity he gets, he will fly that flag and toot that horn. And he started pushing Gahden about that. It's like, well, he got fired for one bad ride. What about Buick here, basically? And Gahden shut that down straight away, saying he was a fast finishing second in the 2000 Guineas at Newmarket. He was gaining no ground whatsoever at Glorious Goodwood, which means it couldn't possibly be his true running, Jamie.
Yeah, but do you know what the story with that fella is like? We're Team Schumacher, and that's it. Like, just because he was fired for a bad ride in the Guineas, and it is like he should have won the Guineas, and that's well, I backed the winner, so I don't care.
Yeah, I didn't back Field of Gold in the 2000 Guineas, and I still react in horror at the fact that it's like, go sooner, son, go sooner.
Buick was good that day.
Buick was brilliant that day. Yeah, Buick at Newmarket, untouchable.
No, I look. He was laying behind. Look, you can't judge him to his next race, really, can you? No.
Yeah. We're not sure what his next race is going to be, but we do know that it won't be the Jumpment International, for which Delacroix is now a very short price favourite. More on that to come, because Adam Mills has got a very strong opinion about that race. A horse that has been cut to joint favouritism for the Arc, but hold up, wait a minute. No guarantee the Whirl is actually going to run there, and by the sounds of things, she could be off down under. I'm kind of surprised Aidan O'Brien is sending a horse back to Australia after the horror show with Jan Bruegel last season. The handicap good thing, but Coolmore are huge supporters of Australian racing, and they're talking about the Cox Plate. They're talking about America for her as well. Maybe she will go for the Arc, but they've got obviously a horse who's beaten her already in Mini Hawk, and they've also got the option of running Whirl in the Prix Vermeil. She's not entered for the Arc, but that's a win and you're in. So if she was to win the Prix Vermeil, then the entry fee gets paid for Coolmore. Not that they're stuck for a few quid. But Whirl is the winner of the Qatar Nassau Stakes. It was a whirlwind performance, Adam. But it does come with just a little bit of an asterisk. There was a lightning storm. The jockeys didn't want to be stuck in a toaster during a lightning storm, so there was a standing start. We need that starter for Cheltenham because they went first time. Ryan Moore knew what was going on, so if we can get him to Cheltenham, that'd be brilliant, as opposed to the farcical starts we get at the Cheltenham Festival every single year. But Ryan Moore was alive to it and basically had the race won at the start.
Yeah, the word standing start is slightly misused there, I would suggest, because 2 of the horses were running and the other 3 were pointing in the wrong direction. But, that's life. I mean, look, we can debate the logic of it. I personally cannot understand how in the middle of July and August, we can't say, you know what, we've got a lightning storm, we're going to just delay for now and see if it clears up, rather than this whole thing of just, let's press on. What would it have mattered if the last 2 races had gone off 40 minutes late? Everyone at Goodwood was running for cover from the rain anyway. It's madness to me at that start. Well, I mean, I've seen races at Cheltenham where they've called them back for better starts than that. And here it's like, off you go. So, look, Whirl was really impressed with the closing stages, but I think you have to at least forgive everything in behind. See the fire, bedtime stop. I'm looking at that and thinking, are you giving a proven Group 1 performer 6 lengths? What possible chance do you have in those conditions as well? Should Whirl be favourite for the Arc on the back of that? I don't know, because this is a very open Arc de Triomphe. You can see that by the fact we're in August and you're sort of 7-1 the field in most places. But while she'll get a fillies allowance, there are plenty of others of fillies who are going to get that allowance too. So it's not like she's the only one. I think the Prix Vermeil fits pretty well. And then they can make a decision. They've got Mini Hawk. They've presumably got Lambourne as well that would still be on that radar now with the way that the others are fitting in. So it was a really impressive performance for what she did in the finals. But then you have to ask, well, what about those in behind? What did they have left? How hard did they have to work to get on terms? And in those conditions, we've had all summer where it's been baking hot, dry, good to firm conditions. And then we suddenly get Goodwood where we've got torrential rain, soft ground. They all come to the stand side in search of better ground. It's just a little bit too messy for me to be sort of thinking that she's a certainty for a Longchamp in October.
Yeah, you were saying that to me on the day as well. And Jamie, you and I were talking right after the King George going, this Calpan is an absolute good thing for the Arc. Gets stuck in at 14-1. That 14th is obviously long gone. And I don't think either of us think she's a good thing by any stretch of the imagination. But she was certainly the most obvious one for the race on that day. Whirl would be interesting. But the problem is, you may very well have already backed the winner of the Arc, because how does she turn the form around with Mini Hawk? And Mini Hawk is the superior stayer, as we saw at Epsom. She's going to go for the Yorkshire Oaks. I think Bedtime Story is going to be fascinating for that race, by the way, for everything Adam just said. Everything in behind is massively inconvenienced. And Bedtime Story, her sister Content won the Yorkshire Oaks last year, and she's probably going to be better over a mile 4. So the 20-1 that they're going about her is just kind of absurd. But I could say the exact same thing about See the Fire, who's been pushed out for the Juddmonte now. She's gone to an absurd price too. And you could almost do the related contingency each way scumbag double on those two. You're getting 10-1 and 20-1 on them both on See the Fire and Bedtime Story, because neither one of them was seen to best effect in that race, Jamie.
Yeah, it's funny now you mentioned actually See the Fire there, Emmet. It's like your Qirat Ascot, and See the Fire seems to be best at York.
Yeah.
So yeah, her best performance is in the Middleton of the Group 2. I mean, like, I would be very interested in her if wherever she turns up at York, and maybe it's the Juddmonte International, but I think she's better on better ground. Running Line is finished at the game, unfortunately.
Oh, she's gone.
Bedtime Story, from what you've seen, is the head goes up and, like, look, the jockey give it too much to do, obviously. But that needs like an Henri Matisse type gallop. That reads really, really end-to-end gallop to be seen in it, because you look at Bedtime Story's head carriage, I'm not in love with it.
Yeah,
I'm just not in love with it. But her run in the
Diane.
Was it pre-Diane? Yeah, that shows me that it needs an end-to-end gallop and to be seen at her best.
And that she has the ability. It's just that she needs to focus her mind. And when you're getting 20-1 about a horse of that ability, it's too big.
Exactly. Sir saying, if you look at it, beat Zara, beat January, who was what's the quote? Doesn't like winning Group 1s. We're saying it again. The other one, the 5th, Chantilly Lace, didn't do much. But, is she any good either? That's my thing. But Whirl, I think, is getting back to Whirl, is he stole a lead. I mean, funny what Adam says there, like, delay the race. I mean, like, there was a 40-minute delay to the bumper at Cheltenham, and it was like it being around Thurles on a bog Thursday morning, looking at the ground. Just delay the race.
Yeah.
The storm goes away, and then you'd have a proper result. But she just still won anyway. Is she as good as she is? Well, no, we say she is because she beat Calpan. But I think she's a 10 furlong horse, not a 12 furlong horse.
Yeah, so, I agree.
Where would she go next?
Well, they're talking Cox Plate, Prix Vermeil. There's a race in America she can go for as well. I mean, they could go Irish Champions Day, but
would you stick her in against 10 furlongs at Epperstone suit her?
It would, but
like, she's not going to the Juddmonte. What's your next 10 furlong Group 1 like? After that, or you drop her back to a mile for a match, and that's not going to happen. Do you know what I mean? So
it's going to depend on what happens it's going to depend on what happens in the Juddmonte International, because obviously all eyes are going to be on Delacroix. And then it's 3.5 weeks after the Juddmonte International is Irish Champions Weekend. So what do you do then?
It's going to be very interesting to see where she actually.
Like, they've got Los Angeles to come back, but he was beaten in the race a year ago, and now he's going to be a 4-year-old, so he'll have to give weight to his younger rivals. You've got Delacroix could potentially go for that race. He'd be suited by it. Mm-hmm. You could try and win it with Lambourne, although what they're talking about with Lambourne is Great Voltager and then either the St. Leger and the Arc. But why not Great Voltager, Los Angeles route, Irish Champion Stakes, then Arc? You've got the St. Leger favourite now. We'll talk more about him in a second. And if you turn that race into a proper stamina test, the only horse to beat Lambourne this season is Delacroix. That might work out. I'm not saying he's good enough to win it. I'm just saying that might be what they're going to do.
Like you said, you could be going down under, like, for my Cox. But you know that with Whirl, do you know what I mean? Like,
Cox Plate would be obvious. They've done this before. They've run Minding, Found, Magical. Like, they've had fillies running the Irish Champion Stakes before. It's not like they wouldn't do it, but it's a stallion making race at them, so they obviously want it to be won by a stallion.
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, the last thing you'd want to do is bury one of your stallions or one of your fillies. But, I mean, if Aidan was a punter, surely he'd fancy the each-way double on Arc Day, run Mini Hawk in the Arc, and then just leave Whirl over 10 furlongs in the Opera.
Bridal Opera, yeah. Yeah.
If I could get ante-post on the Bridal Opera at this stage of the season, that wouldn't be the worst call in the world to think they could win them both.
It wouldn't be the worst one.
Coolmore have got, at least they always have, but they've got kind of an embarrassment of riches around that 10 to 12 furlong trip this year with their 3-year-olds. So it's very hard to separate them entirely, but surely you wouldn't want to shoot one down with another.
Lad, if late Victoria was still around, if she wasn't injured, they would be mopping up everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That still happened on the matron.
Yeah, there's the matrons. Hey, maybe that'll be the day January comes alive. Finally, the group. Oh, God. She's very, very talented, but she's a little bit like Illinois. Just final thoughts on Whirl. So she's obviously very interesting. Jamie, you've backed Mini Hawk for the Arc already. What price did you get? 16s?
Yeah. Very happy.
I'm finding it very difficult to argue with that, Adam.
No, I think that's a very fair price. I think my thoughts on the Arc at this stage are that the French colts aren't that great and that you kind of want to be with a filly. They're not going to change the rules. They're not going to let geldings in. So I just think I look at the fillies and think I could make a case for 5 or 6 fillies. Whereas if I was going after the colts, you're starting to struggle.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really want to back a Japanese horse no matter what he's achieved. So that kind of rules that out. Lambourne potentially, but the worry with Lambourne would be kind of, we know what Lambourne's going to do. So what if he gets a wide draw? What then happens? And also, if I'm Ryan Moore, if you sort of think, well, if Lambourne's out in still 18, how am I going to get him forward and get him to the front? So there's that sort of worry with that. I think anyone who wants to back a filly at any price, just to have a look. I mean, from the French side of things, Aventure would be the obvious one. Realistically, the only horse, well, not realistically, actually, the only horse to beat her this year is Calandagan.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she got beat by Calandagan in a sprint finish on good to firm ground, which doesn't really suit her. Apart from that, she's dispatched everything in France that she should have done. Second last year. That's kind of, if I was forced to have a bet, it would be her, but it would be an each way bet because I don't think there are sort of 5 or 6 that are going to come past her. But it is wide open, absolutely wide open. Don't be put off by anything.
And you can be sure that Aventure has been given that typical French campaign to peak for Arc Day as well. But we'll do an ante-post special on the Arc in the next few weeks because it's a race that really deserves a proper look at. And when we do that, I think you'll be surprised at, first of all, who we come up with, but also just how open that race is. It's the most open Arc I can remember, particularly this late into the season. We were very confident that Whirl was going to win, so I'm more than happy for Ryan Moore to steal 5 lengths at the start of the race and run it like it's a national hunt race. That suited us. We were also very bullish about Scandinavia, so hopefully you followed us in on the Final Furlong podcast. Paige was saying to me as soon as we stopped recording the Race IQ did a special, oh, you're a big fan of the 3-year-olds against the olders. We'll see how that pans out. And then as soon as Field de Goal gets beaten, her first response was, we told them. And the day before, she was like, well done with Scandinavia. I felt like a bit of an idiot. I should have had more on. It is a race to forget, though, given what happened to poor old Trushan. That horse was an absolute hero. And sympathies to Alan King, to Holly Doyle, and to all of the connections involved with Trushan. He was a wonderful, wonderful racehorse. And there was no way for him to go. But we will look back on the success of Scandinavia, who beats last year's St. Leger runner-up. And albeit in receipt of a stone, he's a horse who looked pretty ordinary, like all right at Royal Ascot. Probably be a nice jumper for JP McManus next season. Suddenly cheek pieces go on, and he's 2 from 2. He absolutely destroyed his rivals at Newmarket, and now he beats the Gold Cup runner-up, the St. Leger runner-up in Illinois, who's 0 from 5 in Group 1s, but has never been out of the first 3 in 12 starts. That was a really smart performance, Adam.
gravy. Different gravy, this lad. If he gets beaten the St. Ledger, something's gone wrong. Something must have gone seriously wrong. I think he's wonderful. Really, like, I look back at his Ascot run. How did he get beat there? But actually, you look at the way he finishes and just think, the way that race panned out, the track just didn't suit him. I've kind of been banging the Karma's drum for a while, and now I'm starting to think, this thing looks, I don't have any bets on Scandinavia. I certainly wouldn't take 11 to 10 ante-post. That's a bit silly. But, this was, regardless of the weight, just look at how much he finds. Because at the 3 furlong part, I'm thinking, Wayne's starting to get a bit jiggy here, and he looks like he's kind of thinking Illinois might do me, but Scandinavia's just dossing. Because when Wayne really gets into him, he just pulls out more. I'd be quite happy to think, whilst at the weights, you might think, Illinois is giving him a stone, been beaten 3/4 of a length. I think Scandinavia is still improving. And I also think Illinois is kind of just lacks that little bit of turn of foot, whereas Scandinavia seems to have the ability that if there needs to go fast, we can do. That long straight at Doncaster is going to suit him so much. And, there'll be an Irish winner of the St. Ledger this year for absolute certainty. And it should really be him. I think he's absolutely brilliant. And if he wins the St. Ledger, my first thought would be, what price can I get about him for the Ascot Gold Cup? Because I just think this lad, the further he goes, the more he's going to improve.
That will be the thinking. He's going to be a proper cup horse next season, Jamie.
Yeah, when he got a Newmarket the last day, I kind of put him in a roll-up, and I'm not going to say the second horse to put him in a roll-up, but...
Oh, no!
Because it's National Hunt, and we're not talking National Hunt at the moment.
Good man.
But anyway, Gaelic Warrior. But anyway, he was 10 to 1 at him actually after that race, Newmarket, and I was like, surely we're going to get
Gaelic Warrior for what?
King George. And I put him in the Gold Cup. So, stupid bet about my form at the time. But he 10 to 1, and I couldn't believe he was 10 to 1. Like, do you know what I mean? But I thought he'd be bigger, but sure, I couldn't resist anyway. Now he's best odds. He's 5 to 1 favourite to win the Ascot Gold Cup. Yeah. So, but I totally agree with Adam. He's next year's. He's the only danger next year to Trotter, man. Forget about the rest. The only other one you could think about and might step up when you come to the Ascot Gold Cup is Willie Mullins is sober, won Queen Alexandra. They'll be the only 3 in my head for the race, and the rest have, unless something comes from out of the clouds, they'll be the main 3 next year. No.
He's a stare, mate. He's a stare.
And he's in boat, though. He won't beat Scandinavia.
Yeah, that'll help him. You need to be a boat to win the Gold Cup. You need to have a bit of class.
Scandinavia is more than Jan Bruegel. I mean, I could run faster than Jan Bruegel. But anyway, the next... I don't know. I really fancied him for the Ascot Gold Cup, but I don't know what you're going to do with Illinois now. Where does he go? Scratch me. Even though, like exactly what Adam said, like he was still giving Scandinavia a stone, but look, Stradivarius won this, getting a stone ages ago, and he became a top class stare.
Yeah, and
Scandinavia, I think, will be a top class stare, but he's very short for the Gold Cup next year already. He is like 5 to 1. It's crazy. The rest, I suppose, sad to see with True and passed unfortunately, but. After that, I wouldn't be any interest in any other horses in the race. Managed to Emmet.
No, I'd have zero interest in any of the others. And the only thing that would intrigue me is if they decide to run Illinois in the Lonsdale Cup, I think he'll take the world of beating. But you're still not at Group 2, Group 3 level. I think he's untouchable. He just keeps finding one too good for him at Group 1 level, and eventually you have to run out of excuses for him. Like maybe he had no chance with Sosi. Maybe he had no chance with Los Angeles. Maybe he had no chance with Jan Bruegel. But eventually you are starting to go, I don't know. That was a great chance for you.
Yeah, like the Lonsdale Cup and Yorkshire Cups and all them, he'd probably mop up in all those races and no one turned out.
I disagree. I don't think he stays. And if you look at the data from Race IQ last week, fastest horse to reach 20 miles an hour, Scandinavia. Longest stride in the field, Scandinavia. Top speed in the field, Scandinavia. That form is not going to be reduced by weight. Isn't the Irish St. Ledger still all age? Surely just running Illinois in that.
Mile 6, yeah.
But he won't beat Joseph O'Brien's horse in that.
Oh, he will. He'll beat Ralph.
He won't beat Albert in a million years.
He'll take it.
Joseph, he's got to. So,
side bet. No, Al Riff will win that.
I don't fancy Al Rifa for that. I think Al Rifa is a nice horse, but I think he's a nice horse at Group 2 / German Group 1 level.
Fair enough.
We'll see.
Well, I suppose Illinois gets weight 6. Yeah, like all those, like that one there that Trollman won this year at York. Like that's a 1.6. That's his limit. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When he won at that's his limit. Ormond Stakes when he won at Tester was 1.5.5, whatever. That's his limit. He just doesn't stay. I don't like. He was ran off his feet by Trollman, and that was it. Like, you know what I mean? But I'd say -6 is his limit. So he gets weight, obviously, but he gets weight. So in the Irish St. Ledger. So being a 3-year-old, obviously. But
Trollman tore the guts out of him as well that day. In fairness, and
no, there's another story about that. Did he break his heart that day? Maybe he just don't know. Did they come back? You know, but -6.
Hello, Winston. Making a cameo. What do you think? Are you with Illinois next time? Irish St. Ledger? Good thing? You good thing for it? You gone quiet now? For those of you listening to the podcast, my cat Winston decided to jump up on the chair in the studio and probably demand attention. Scandinavia is the first 3-year-old to run in the race since 2020. He's only the second 3-year-old since 1999 to win the race. The previous one was Stradivarius. We know what he went on to become, one of the greatest stayers we've ever seen. It may very well be that Scandinavia goes on to achieve something similar. It certainly bodes very well for him that he was able to do that. And I do think Illinois would be fascinating in an Irish St. Ledger. But here's a question for you boys. If the Coolmore team decide to run Lambourn in the St. Ledger, who does Wayne Lordan ride in the St. Ledger? Does he ride the dual Derby winner Lambourn, or does he ride Scandinavia?
I think it's a moot point because I think Scandinavia's emergence means Lambourn won't be anywhere near that St. Ledger. Because once you run Lambourn in the St. Ledger, you go from being a Derby winning stallion to a Plumpton stallion. And there's a real difference in terms of that. And I don't mean that in any derogatory way to small racecourses, but you don't.
Very good.
If you've got a Derby winner, you throw him. Because if you throw him at the Arc, you got the chance to really turn him into a serious stallion prospect. The minute you have a 1 mile 6 on there, and even worse, if you then get beat over 1 mile 6, it's a big risk. And you know, if you're Coolmore, you got to look at Scandinavia and think, well, this is a penalty kick, isn't it? Really? Well, you know, the last thing we want is Scandinavia and Lambourn to take each other on and set the race alight for something else. You kind of consider there's enough options to separate them. But in that case, I think Ryan would ride Scandinavia all day.
Ryan won't be there.
Oh, no, he won't be there. Oh, no. Oh, blimey.
Ryan will be in Ireland for the Irish Champion Stakes, riding Delacroix or whoever.
So then Wayne surely chooses Scandinavia if he gets the choice. I just think you'd ride the horse that you got the association with. And also, I just think they'll be thinking in their heads that at no point are they thinking Scandinavia is going to be one and done this season. He's coming back for a 4-year-old campaign to take those cup races in the middle distances, or the longer distances, sorry. So, whereas Lambourn, presumably, if he were to win the Arc in an ideal world, he'd be off the stud and happier times.
I think this is a really tricky one for Coolmore because they're starting to stack up a lot of proper middle distance stayers for stallion prospects. You've got Continuous, who won a St. Ledger, but he's not by a Coolmore stallion, so they became adventurous with him. It didn't quite work out after a big run in the Arc, and now he's a pacemaker. And whether he's actually suited to that role is another question entirely, but that's not going to be a stallion. And the second you enter the gate for the St. Ledger, as Adam says, you're devalued. But how much commercial demand is there going to be for Lambourn? He wasn't a precocious 2-year-old. He's a Derby winner that wasn't the choice of Ryan Moore on the day. He then wins an Irish Derby that people just wanted to criticize. The form of that is now starting to look quite good. Serious Contender pushed him. Serious Contender was beaten by Merchant. Merchant comes out and wins at Goodwood, and straight after the race, William Haggis is talking about, no, we're not going to the St. Ledger. We're going to the Arc, baby. And who knows, maybe that 41 for the Arc about Merchant looks really good. He was in the King George until very, very late in the day. But they've got this very strong batch of elite middle distance staying types. They've got Jan Bruegel. They've got Los Angeles, who they didn't run in a St. Ledger. They didn't need to because they had Illinois and Jan Bruegel for that race. They've now got Scandinavia coming through. They're very top-heavy for those races. They'll win the Irish St. Leger, I'm pretty sure, with Illinois, Jan Bruegel, whichever one they decide to go with. They'll win the St. Leger with Scandinavia, but maybe you're better off to go there with 2 bullets, because you already know, no matter how hard you try, unless you win the Arc with them, or you manage to win a Breeders' Cup Turf, I'm not entirely sure that the Breeders' Cup Turf is going to be Lambourne's cup of tea. Can you make him a commercially successful stallion that people are clamoring to get? I'd like to think so. It's depressing that you wouldn't, but just not so sure about that, Jamie.
Yeah. If like your Derby winner should be going to the Arc, really, and there should be no even question of an argument that he should be in a St. Leger. And then he's a national hunt sire, as we said plenty of times in this podcast. That if you go down St. Leger now, you're defo a national hunt sire. Scandinavia should be in the race. And getting back to your point with Illinois, Al Riffa will beat him in the Irish St. Leger.
Take him on. Take whatever price you can get about Illinois in the Irish St. Leger, assuming that's the route they go.
Just go back to where he won the Curragh Cup and you'll see it.
We'll have you. I've saw it. I backed him that day. But I'll happily debate that with you in the Irish Champion Stakes preview coming soon on the Final Furlong podcast. We'll make sure we have Jamie on for that one so we can debate that properly, and then have him on the Monday for the review when Illinois has taught him a valuable lesson. And the boys are probably then saying, oh, well, he'll come on for the run as he heads down under. And that's where you'll actually see who Al Reef is capable of, given Joseph's record down under. The sad thing about the emphasis on precocious speed at the sales and in breeding, as opposed to proper elite stayers, is some of the best horses. The horse behind me, in the picture behind me here, if you're watching on YouTube, is the great Yates, the greatest stayer we've ever seen. We just talked about Stradivarius and his brilliance. We're already excited. Jamie's got the 10-1 about Scandinavia for the Gold Cup next year. We're all trying to figure out who we think is going to win the Arc. These middle distance races are the ones that really matter to us. They're the ones that have the prestige and the history. And yet, if you win the St. Leger, you're devalued as a sire. And what has that left the world of British and Irish racing, and for that matter, European racing with? Well, it's left us with a bunch of dross in the sprinting division. And the roulette wheel, as we joke about, continues to turn. And this time it lands on JM Jungle, who's a lovely horse, very, very talented. He's a friend of the Final Furlong podcast. Many of you got in touch with us to say you backed JM Jungle for that race because we said hey, it wouldn't be out of bounds at all for JM Jungle to win this. And because we've talked about him so much, you just went with him because he was such a big price. And the fact that we've emphasized this is a terrible division. They all just keep turns beating one another. In his first ever run in group company, JM Jungle wins a Group 2 sprint at Glorious Goodwood. Adam Mills, pick the bones out of that.
Well, are there any bones to pick over the sprint division anymore? It's just like, I mean, come on. JM Jungle has won 6 of his 37 starts, has been beaten in handicaps of marks of 101 and 96 this year. Whilst, he's very good at Epsom, I'll give you that. But this, and as admirable as it is, and the same with American Affair, it's a nice story, well done to connections, brilliant effort. You picked up another big race, but come on. Surely we can do better than this, people. What is going on with the sprint division that you look at this and you just think, we're getting to the point now where we don't need group sprints. We'll just make them all handicaps. And you can carry a group penalty if you've won one once you get past the age of 3. At the weights, he comes out pretty much bang on with time for sandals. It's just not. The division is absolutely crying out for another potash, and it just can't find it. And if anyone does unearth a genuinely top sprinter, they will dominate this division by 5 lengths. There's so little depth there, and you can tell that because the form doesn't translate. They're all taking it in turns to beat each other. That's normally the sign that you don't have a particularly deep division. It's not competitive. It's not like the same horses are filling the frame every week and it's the narrow margins. Brilliant for connections, lovely horse, but come on. This is getting a little bit silly now that I think we start looking at all of our Group 1 sprints and thinking, we've got all of these sprint races with great prize money and we can't find a horse better than 110.
I think you're absolutely insane if you're backing anything sub 10-1 for a sprint. you've just lost your mind. You just discount them. Dude, take the Aidan O'Hara approach. Begin with the biggest price and try and see if you can work out, is there a back piece of form? Is there a piece of data that tells me this horse can run well? Great, lovely, that's it, done. Start with the 100-to-1 shots and work your way down. It's terrible. And this is what we're giving up on middle distance clashes for. I don't want to breed to Lambourne. I want my precocious speed. Well done. Adear was sent off to Japan. Siskin was sent off to Japan. All of those good miler, 10 furlong, 12 furlong horses, they were all sent off to Japan. And this is what we end up with. It's dire. It's absolutely dire. And again, well done to the connections of James Jungle. Nothing against the horse. We love him. We love that horse on this show. This is terrible stuff, Jamie. This is awful.
I was delighted because he won when I backed him. And the only reason I backed him, right, honest to God, I swear to God, I'm not messing. The only reason I backed him because the way he won the dash at Epsom down the hill.
Yeah.
There's the only reason he won.
Yeah, we mentioned that on TalkSport as well. Yeah, he's going to be suited to the track.
I didn't have everything I had on him, but a few quid on him for the crack. Because that's what these races are.
Yeah.
A bet for the crack. And it's getting that way. It's getting to run that again, you'd have another winner. Run that again, you'd have another winner. The one I would take out of the race still is Knight Raider. Bring him back to York.
Stop.
Bring him back to York. I'm telling you.
Stop
it. But that's the way the flat season's going, Emmet. Qirat wins that. Docklands wins it. I'm telling you, these horses, it's like flat races.
You can't be telling me I have to back Knight Raider again.
Oh. Yeah,
I didn't know York had laid it to Peter Surface.
Yeah, that's what he's going to win. It's going to be December. There's going to be a 5 furlong sprint at Chelmsford and he'll win that. And I'll be sick because he'll be sent off something stupid like 5-1 in his ideal conditions. And I'll be, how did I not back him?
Like, if the 2-2-year-olds don't turn up in a Nunthorpe, come on, as you say, what Aidan O'Hara says, start at the bottom.
Yeah.
Work your way up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because if the 2-2-year-olds don't turn up in a Nunthorpe, oh my God, it's chronic.
But I mean, it's a sorry that form's not brilliant from the Mulcombe. It's a pretty sorry state of affairs if Lady Iman is going off the price she is now and can win the Nunthorpe. And she's a very talented filly, and I'm delighted for Gerlines. But that form's not great. No, but look, that's what I'm saying. They keep beating each other, and we'll wait to see who turns up in the Nunthorpe first. 2-year-olds don't turn up, but I will back Knight Raider for the Nunthorpe because it's that bad. Jamie Max, oh, now you're going to have me looking up the price for Knight Raider in the Nunthorpe. Just in the comment section, you can already see the pain on my face about that. Just say, Emmet, stop. Just no more with Knight Raider. Remove from tracker. Just silence, mute on X. Just forget about him. It's I'm going to back him in the Nunthorpe, aren't I? Bloody well. I'm telling you, it's going to be some 5 furlong race at Chelmsford, and that's when everything will fall into place for him. Back to Newcastle. We're going to see the best sprinter in Europe, which really isn't saying anything at all, run this weekend. But if Lazat was running in these races, if they'd run him in the July Cup, if they'd ran him in that, he'd have absolutely buried this lot at him. Yeah, even at 5 furlongs, you'd think Lazat would have had too much speed, and he just got most of these out of their comfort zone. I mean, I think 6 on a straight course suits Lazat a little bit better. And I can perfectly understand the Pre-Maurice de Geese is the right race for him. They know he's going to do it. But it's kind of the noises from Jerome Rainier seem to be like, well, we might look at Haydock and see how it goes, because I think they've got kind of other ideas with Lazat. But you can kind of see Lazat and Satono Rev were so far clear in that Diamond Jubilee Stakes. That is the gap between where sprinters should be and where British and Irish sprinters are. Mm-hmm. There is a genuine gap there, and it's, but that's why these races are great for punters, because now you can start to think, well, basically anything rated 95 or above, if I was the connections of a half-decent Class 2 handicap sprinter, I'd think, oh, we're solid, let's throw him in. Yeah. Let's have a go. What harm can it possibly do? Well, we've wanted to see JM Jungle in one of these races for a while, and that's why. Because... Well, you got to also think, what price would the Stewards Cup winner have been to go off in this race?
bearing in mind the form. You know, and you wouldn't, if you knew now, someone said to you, well, they're going to run 2 drives in a 6 furlong sprint, at no point would you think, oh, that's like a 200 to 1 no hoper. It'd probably be like 10s.
Yeah.
So
he's definitely going to end up anyway, Adam, in the Group 1 sprint at Ascot at the end of the season, 2 drives. They're going to roll the dice. They're going to have a go.
Yeah.
But why not? That's the way to look at it.
I'd be interested to know what price, because Flora of Bermuda is going to get ignored now because the whole thing we had against Flora of Bermuda in the July Cup was she was too short. She keeps getting beaten. But the fact that the wheel keeps on spinning, you're now getting 16 to 1 about her for the Haydock Sprint Cup. So that immediately makes me interested in her.
But the one you said for the July Cup, you put on your other thing. I mean, like I told you, I need soft ground. And if he turns up in a Grade 1 sprint over 6 furlongs and soft ground, Whistle Jacket.
Yeah, he's 20s for the Nunthorpe, and he's 25s for the Sprint Cup. The Sprint Cup will be much more suitable for him.
Yeah, or even on Ascot. I mean, like uphill, kind of 6.
Yeah.
6 up a hit, do you know what I mean? Like, but just to finish over 6 furlongs on soft ground in a Group 1 sprint, if no one turns up and he's decent price, I'd be all over him on soft ground.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. Hammer the Hammer is an interesting one as well. I mean, I know he got beaten the other day, but he did way too much out in front. Mm-hmm. He's got class. I mean, he beat nothing early in the season. None of the horses he beat did anything of any note, but the way he ran at Royal Ascot is telling you that's a horse that's got group race potentials at some group race aspirations at some point. And it's just not that big a gap from handicap. There is no gap between the elite level handicappers and group racing. So he's another one that comes into your reckoning at some point. I am being told by Trish that we have a price for Knight Raider for the Coolmore Nunthorpe Stakes. Do I even want to see this? 16 to 1. You're joking. Thankfully, he's 16 to 1. Because if he was 66 to 1, I would have parted with cash right now that I would then see being ripped up by the time the Nunthorpe comes around. But 16 to 1 is a price I'm more than willing. Like that, I don't get back my losses if he wins at 16 to 1. So no. Oh dear. The Coolmore Nunthorpe will be interesting. The Haydock Sprint Cup will be interesting. The Ascot Champions Day Sprint. It's the end of season. Which 66 to 1 shot's going to win this race will be interesting, and we'll talk to you about them. But we'll remind you that this is a terrible division, and just don't get carried away with it, and just back something at a big price. Okay, speed round. Merchant takes the Gordon Stakes. It was won by Jan Bruegel last year before he went on to win the St. Ledger. This fella's not headed to the St. Ledger, apparently. They want to go for the Arc, but he is going to take on the Derby winner, Jan Bruegel, Lambourne in the Great Voltager. He will have to carry a Group 1 penalty just like Los Angeles did last year. So Merchant will have a little bit of advantage in that regard. But the fact that they're running Lambourne tells you they think that's the right race for him. Is it the right race for Merchant, and how farther can he go, Adam?
I don't know. I'm no interest in him for the Arc whatsoever. I think that's tilting at windmills. And whilst the Ascot performance was good, this was good. But the problem I have with this race is we know so much about the second. Wimbledon Hawkeye is Wimbledon Hawkeye, and he's got to a certain level and he's not got any further.
Shout out George Gorman, by the way. He was all over him on the podcast, and I was like, you've lost your mind, son.
The flip side to it is the 7 lengths back to Windlord. So there's a nice big gap there, and the two of them have really pulled. But I don't know. Merchant looked to me like it was hard work to get past Wimbledon Hawkeye. And I'd be pretty surprised if he's good enough to get past Lambourne if they meet. So I think they may be missing a trick here in terms of, do you need to be thinking about the Arc at this stage? Or do you need to be thinking we can just sort of pick and choose some of these middle distance races? And we can pick and choose to make sure that we're running in races where Lambourne isn't. I don't really understand this need, because I look at it and think, if I've beaten Wimbledon Hawkeye by a nose, how am I going to beat the Derby winner? And how on earth am I going to win an Arc giving weight to the fillies? It's kind of, I would have thought if he was an Arc horse, he's absolutely going to bury Wimbledon Hawkeye.
Yeah.
And in reality, it's in the last 50 yards that he finally gets on top of him. So either Wimbledon Hawkeye improved by £10, and then all of a sudden we are talking about a serious piece of form, or we might need to temper our enthusiasm a little bit with Merchant, and he's going to need to step up again. I think it's the latter.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that, Jamie. I like the horse, but he'll need to improve to beat Lambourne in the Great Vaultinger. Never mind win an arc.
Yeah, I think it was the way the races won too. Like the way he won at Ascot, came from miles off the pace, and he needs pace as well. Looking at him, but taking an age to, regardless of the ground, regardless of the downpours, it took him an age to go Wimbledon Hawkeye. But get him on a bit of faster ground. But he'd need a real pacemaker to even trouble Lambourne, and they're not going to do that. And if Lambourne gets a soft lead against him, Lambourne will grind him out of it. Do you know what I mean? Is he quite top class? Jury's out, but you never know. But no, not when when you struggle to be Wimbledon Hawkeye. Sorry, definitely my reservations are out there.
Yeah, you are looking at this from the perspective of, oh wow, Wimbledon Hawkeye has bounced back to form. Maybe Ambiente Friendly will do so. No, not even a gelding op has worked on Ambiente Friendly so far.
Burnett Road.
Oh man, well, yeah. Listen, there's plenty of Cheltenham races to be won, so
yeah.
There's always stick him over a flight of hurdles. That'll bring out some improvement in him. Let's switch to the juvenile, shall we? Zavitary. Chef's kiss, Charles Bishop. Yes, my son, get in there. 3 from 3, 20-1 is available about Zavitary. When we looked at this earlier on today, I saw some firms going 25-1. If this horse was trained by Aidan O'Brien, you wouldn't see sight nor sound of 5-1. Why is Zavitary such a big price for the 2,000 guineas, Adam Mills? And does that price interest you?
Well, to be honest, I don't really want to talk about Zavitary because Jamie Wrenn is sitting there having listened to my advice on the podcast a month ago and said, Zavitary's a good horse. I haven't listened to my own advice and I've missed 18-1 and then 8-1 winners. So when he texted me last week and went, thanks, mate, I owe you a beer, I was like, for what? Looking at my phone, oh, bloody hell.
Hold on a second. I was the one going on about how great Zavitary is.
Oh, I think you'll find if you listen to the episode we did in preview of the July meeting, and I said, this Zavitary Salisbury's exceptional. I want to keep an eye on this one. And then I purely said, he won't win at Newmarket. Don't back him yet. Wait till later in the season. So
I did a whole thing about how he's by a Group 1 winner and he's out of a Nakakan bred mare who's a granddaughter of Zarkava and he's going to improve and blah, blah, yakety schmackety.
So I'll just hand over to Jamie because he seems to be paying attention. I'm not.
Okay. Well, Jamie, you then followed in Adam and I. Adam is still struggling clearly to come to terms with the fact that he hasn't been following his own excellent advice. I love this horse. He overcame a lot of adversity at Newmarket in the sense that he tracks Brussels in the first 2 furlongs, but then he ends up being stuck out wide and he has to come through horses himself, still manages to go and win. Beats the Coventry runner-up, the Norfolk 6th, a Woodcote winner, an unbeaten Ballydoyle colt. He takes on a serious amount of horses here. He's got winners of the Chesham. He's got another Ballydoyle horse. He becomes the first horse since Olympic Glory in 2012 to carry a penalty to victory, and he did so pretty easily in the end. I know he's had a fight in his hands, but he's pulled clear of some smart horses. He's a proper racehorse.
Yeah, he is, especially when you have to give away a penalty this early in his career. That's the most impressive thing. And when Morris Dancer came to him, he went again. And, the sky's the limit for him, I think. But you just wait till down the end of the season where he's going to go, and then see if he's up against one of the better, in quotes, Coolmore 2-year-olds. Because I told you, I think, before on this podcast that Dorset is no good. Yeah. We were saying that. And, would not give up on. I said it before, and got it awful right.
Who?
And I thought he was got it. There's definitely a race in him when there's nobody turning up. You know, not nobody turning up, but not as good as this crop. There's definitely races in Ireland to be won with him, but he will turn up in a race. And the Chesham form now is very questionable because, I thought this humidity would be a good horse. But did the track not suit him? Really? Maybe. But to spend all that money you want and then to getting a horse out of Cheveley, he was very disappointed in my book community. Do or do not? is he the best? He has to win a maiden yet, doesn't he? Or not? I know.
Himself and Puerto Rico are in a fight for best maiden in the country.
In the country, just go back there and win a maiden and novice and get on with it. But Zavitary, he's a good horse. I really like him. And thanks, Adam Mills.
Yeah,
can we get a round of
applause? You're welcome. You're
there?
Welcome, Jamie Wrenn. For feck's sakes, man.
Go on, press that button there. Give him a round of applause there.
If you don't praise yourself, there's no praise.
Yeah.
And self-praise is no praise. Jesus. I thought that the worry with humidity was the fact that he was 5-1.
Mm-hmm.
There was just no confidence in him at all. And I know there was no confidence in Zavitary, but given the connections of Zavitary, that doesn't surprise me. He was sent off 18-1, having been 28-1 literally 60 seconds before the July Stakes. I'm not overly shocked that he drifted out to a big price. The fact that they came for Dorset as strongly as they did, that didn't make any sense to me at all. And I understand it's easy with the benefit of hindsight. But humidity was just very, very weak for a horse that his connections were talking about. Literally, they were saying, we've got a Guineas horse in our hands here only a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. I guess like with Goodwood, Goodwood is very difficult for horses, and inexperienced horses can get lost there, especially coming down that hill. It's all rolling, the pace is getting going. So it's not impossible to think, okay, just him to handle the track. But he was you could tell humidity was beaten after 2 furlongs. He just didn't look comfortable, and it's that would worry me. Whereas Zavitary, yes, he's had the benefit of going to the July course at Newmarket, so he's kind of got used to finishing on the undulation things, but he was just in a different league. And at no point, if I meet again, it would be impossible for me to make any case from the data or the video to say, humidity will reverse that next time. There's absolutely no way. And I mean, Zavitary is a very, very good horse. Really exciting. There's plenty of mile pedigree in there. It's so tempting to have a Guineas bet. In my head, I'm sort of thinking they presumably got to think about some kind of Group 1. The safest option is maybe to think about the Dewhurst, something like that, and trying to work back from there. Or do you sort of take the chance and go to Ireland? But there's for him, and provided he trains on, he'd be the kind of horse that you'd imagine would turn up in something like the Greenham or the Craven. And if you fancied him and he looked like he'd trained on, you'd really want to get stuck in. And I think you're right. I mean, if he's trained by Aidan O'Brien, the entire world and his wife is saying this is the second coming. But because it's a slightly smaller yard who are absolutely exceptional with their 2-year-olds, there's a sort of a dampening down of, can he be that good? Well, he's proven twice now that he is that good. And it's easy to remember, he's only been racing for 9 weeks.
Yeah.
He's already this good. Imagine what he'll be like in October.
But I would also argue, this is a horse who's only going to improve. Like, this is the kind of frightening thing about Zavitary, is that there's definitely a class bias here because, it's Eve Johnson Houghton. It's like, good for you, Eve. Like, that definitely happens in the betting market. There is definitely that sort of really unintelligent, eyebrow-raising, scoffing attitude to her horses. She's a brilliant trainer, and she's a brilliant placer of horses, and she's really good. She's a great target trainer as well, for that matter. And she's been openly telling people for quite a while, this is the best horse I've had. This is the best horse I've had. Not, one of. This is the best horse I have had. She's been openly saying that. And the other horse keeps running well. Havana Hurricane. He's not quite elite level, but he's a Royal Ascot winner. He's been placed in a super sprint. He's been placed again in a valuable race at Goodwood. He's a very nice horse. He'll probably win again before the season is out. But this horse, this is a machine. This is a proper machine. He's by without parole. He only raced once as a juvenile and then was a Group 1 winner at the St. James's Palace Stakes. He's out of an Aga Khan bred mare whose brother was a multiple winner over staying distances in Australia. She was unraced. She's a granddaughter of Zarkava. This is a horse who's bred to get better with age and racing. You haven't seen the best of this horse, and he's unbeaten in 3 starts. And I'll remind everybody, the betting market is going to tell you, and you're going to listen to loads of people who are going to say, I've already read a piece from somebody talking about how, Italy's a good thing for the 2,000 guineas. Do you not realize Aidan O'Brien doesn't care about the 2000 Guineas anymore? They don't care about it. It's like, nice race, fantastic, great occasion, happy to have a representative. The runner this year was expanded. Auguste Rodin got lapped in it. Little Big Bear got lapped in it. City of Troy got lapped in it. They don't care about it anymore. It's an irrelevance to them. It's actually an annoyance to have your horse ready for that race. They used to have their horses in as proper pattern to be ready. They would be isolated and trained themselves to be ready for Newmarket. And that's great if you can win that race. But by the end of the season, the horses have lost value because they've been beaten. I remember reading about somebody in the Racing Post was writing an opinion piece. And look, I've had some horrible opinions in the past. But how... this is before he wins the Breeders' Cup Classic. What kind of a ridiculous opinion is it to say, because Ravens Pass beat Henry the Navigator in the QE2, he's the superior miler? The hell are you talking about, man? Henry the Navigator wiped the floor with them throughout the season, and because of one defeat, you now want to say, oh, well, Ravens Pass is clearly the superior miler. I think they've read that kind of stuff and gone, you know what, the St. James's Palace Stakes is worth more to us. The French 2000 Guineas is worth more to us because we can win that race and not have to have the early preparation for Newmarket. The Irish 2000 Guineas, St. James's Palace Stakes, Sussex Stakes, Prix de Moulin, QE2 if you want, Breeders' Cup Mile. All of those races are worth more to us than the 2000 Guineas at Newmarket, which means Stad won't even run in the 2000 Guineas. He's a sprinter. Albert Einstein, will we ever see him again? Don't know. Italy, maybe. New Zealand, you're having a laugh. Isaac Newton, he'd need to start now to win 2,000 Guineas. And then you finally come down to, has the market actually corrected? I'm still scrolling here for Zavitary.
Yeah.
What? How am I still scrolling? Do I need to type in, search, please find for me Zavitary? I actually do. This is madness. Like, this is absolute madness that we're getting this kind of a price about him. Yeah, you're getting at least 20 to 1 about Zavitary. I think you're mad if you don't take it. I don't see anything from Charlie Appleby yet. Admittedly, something could emerge between now and then. Possibly on the all-weather next year. Yeah, I think this is one of the rare opportunities where you actually get to have a proper bet on a horse, ante-post, at a big price. We should be taking it. Zavitary, 2,000 Guineas. Project Zavitary for the 2,000 Guineas begins now. Team Eve Johnson Houghton, let's go. You can do it, Eve. You can do us a massive favor. The biggest price that we can get, we'll even mention the firm, is 25 to 1 with Podrick Power or Skybet.
Don't know that.
Punish them. Punish Skybet. Punish Skybet. Take that 25s and punish them. And if you would like to be mentioned on the Final Furlong podcast, you can talk to us about sponsorship opportunities. That's a crazy price. It's absolutely insane. Brief. Have you taken 25s, Jamie?
No, I haven't backed him yet.
You're going to, though?
Shouldn't I? Might.
Who would you back for the 2,000 Guineas right now?
Zavitary.
Exactly. You're getting 25. We don't get this price already. They quoted 8 to 1 about some John Gosden yoke. John Gosden's never won the Guineas. The horse won a novice. What? He's unbeaten in 3 starts, including 2 group races, and he's won at Newmarket. I'm going to have a heart attack. This is crazy. 25 to 1 is way too big. Lady Iman won't be winning a 1,000 Guineas, but she's probably going to win more races before the season is out. She's a nice horse. Form of that race isn't the best, but it's a Gerlines winner at Glorious Goodwood. Delighted for him. She's clearly very talented. She pays a big compliment to Beautify, who beat her last time out. And she's a good speed filly.
Yep. Everything that you would want in a 2-year-old filly. The pedigree kind of suggests you'd want to be very careful about whether she'll train on or not before you start thinking that she's anything for next year. But, you know, she's won that race with something in hand, in my view. And everything she's done so far suggests she's pretty close to the top of the 2-year-old tree. It's just whether she can go any further. I did kind of think with her, she's a half-sister. Is she half-sister to West Acre? Is that right? who was a winner in Maidan. So there's always that thought that people kind of forget there's really good prize money in Dubai, good options for the 3-year-olds in January and February when most other people have put them away. So that would kind of think that maybe they might be tempted there, but it's obviously different ownership. But I do really like Lady Iman, and I kind of feel like I want to be with her until she shows me a sign that she's peaked. Whereas at the moment, I think she's still capable of a bit further improvement. They're obviously going to have to sort of place her quite carefully now with the penalties and things she's got. But, she was miles the best horse last week, in my opinion. I thought Argentine Tango ran a nice race. That'll probably pop up somewhere. Other than that, I'm not particularly in love with this. I'm finally giving up on my military code project. It's like,
Oh, forget it.
Yeah, the problem is when you work in data, sometimes you see the data he produced at Ascot and you go, wow.
Yeah.
Hello. This is the sort of thing to get behind of. And now I'm thinking, Jesus, what is going on? So, write him off. But fair play to Joe Lyons. Lady Iman looks really quite quality. And I haven't seen too many 2-year-old fillies that are sort of rapidly improving to go past her. So all the time she's there, I kind of want to stick with her until I'm proven wrong.
We did warn about those Charlie Appleby juveniles as well. They're just not going forward at all. And he's a real disappointment, that fella. We didn't fancy him for Wild Ascot. We kind of fancied him for that race, but he was almost the default option if you wanted to take on the favourite. Because I thought Lady Iman was too short a price, Jamie. Egg on my face. She was really good.
Yeah, she's really. I think we quote after the race exactly the horse you said, when you were quoting her was Beautify. Like we said there on the last time I was on, that like I need to step back and trip at her, and she's just an out and out 5-furlong sprinter.
Yeah.
Look, Ryan Moore got off and said she got inside draw in a Breeder Cup sprint, she'll win. But now I think, as a Ger Lyons got interviewed there yesterday and said, look, the owners want to go for the Nunthorpe, and look, she's not out of place in the Nunthorpe. She might have to beat another 2-year-old to win that, but we'll talk about that another day. But like, she is really good, but exactly what Adam says, like, there's the peak and then there's the trough, and you have to find out when that is. That's going to be tough. Will she train on? I'd be in not so sure camp as well. But she is really good, and it shows that how good her, how good True Love is, and maybe potentially how good Beautify is over 6 furlongs in the future.
Yeah, it's a very fair point to make. I think she's a really, really interesting filly. She'd be fascinating for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. Given the fact that Ger won that race a year ago, she's already a superior filly to him. And if Ryan is right, if they get the inside draw, then, well, the Coolmore team would have to come up, and Charlie Appleby would have to come up with something very, very interesting to go and beat them. And best of luck to them. If the Nunthorpe is the plan, that's going to be really interesting as well. And she'll have the sex allowance, she'll have the age allowance. She's got a lot of speed. There's a lot to like about her. What about Koppel for Clive Cox and David Probert? Horses being ridden on the front end. The pace was holding up all week, and surprise, surprise, it held up in this race as well. And that Coventry form had already been boosted by Do or Do Not finishing second to Zavitary twice. And it's been franked again now by Koppel, who ran a blinder. He won his side, and he's now won himself at Goodwood.
Yeah, and I think Koppel is a very decent horse for Clive Cox. But all this really does is just suggest that Gestad is a little bit of a tool.
Oh, he's a machine.
Really. Everything he beat in the Coventry appears to be... There's no, way to really pull that form apart. So, Koppel was very good, but he's not going to reverse form of Gestad, in my opinion. And this is the way you kind of start to be able to draw a few form lines. Yes, the track at Goodwood favours that kind of ride, but those 2-year-old races where you've got a bit of inexperience. I thought Havana Hurricane had enough of a chance despite being sort of slightly inconvenienced at the start, didn't really deliver. Puerto Rico Puerto Rico just looks slow. I just felt like Goodwood didn't really suit. You can't be a slow horse at Goodwood, which I know you shouldn't be a slow horse anyway, but you can't be a slow horse in a downhill track when they're going to get rolling, and it just looked like Koppel had too many gears for him. And for that reason, I don't think there's any reason for that form to be reversed. Of the first 4 home, which are the ones that mattered, Puerto Rico was the slowest horse in the final furlong.
Oof.
So that's kind of a little bit of a slight worry. the likes for Maximised, I think he's kind of reached his ceiling. I don't think we've quite seen that. There's plenty in there you can start to write off now. But it was really good from Koppel. Good, then how good was Gestad to absolutely bury him?
Yeah, there's just... I don't want to take anything away from Koppel because I think he's a really likeable horse, Jamie. And not really take anything away from Havana Hurricane either, who's, again, run a big race. But to a certain extent, all this does is prove how good True Love is. True Love absolutely buried Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico gets within 2 lengths of Koppel. And as Adam said, it really emphasizes how good Gestad is.
It just goes to show as well, Emmet, that maiden in Navan is probably the best 2-year-old race all year.
Yeah.
Gestad beating True Love and just move on. But exactly what like Adam says, Maximised and Havana Hurricane run about Lady Iman earlier. They've peaked. Now the trough comes. Havana Hurricane and Maximised. They were 1 and 2, obviously, in Epsom in the whip cut earlier in the season. Puerto Rico, to me, didn't like the way it run against True Love the last day at the Curragh. It hung a bit and didn't like it, wanted to go through with it. And exactly like Adam says, he looks slow. So I think a step up and trip for him is thing. And he'll definitely win a maiden, maybe over 7 furlongs in the mile when no one's looking, something like that. But he wouldn't be like top of the tool shed inside Aidan O'Brien's 2-year-olds this year, actually.
Maybe put Paddle Addict for Henry de Bromhead into your tracker. 4th behind Gestad, True Love, and Havana Anna. Havana Anna has won twice since for Donnacha O'Brien. True Love is True Love, and Gestad is Gestad. So perhaps Paddle Addict will be in the winner's enclosure sooner rather than later. I think we all like Koppel, but you can't help but think about the horses that weren't in that race and what they're going to do, considering how their form is being boosted. Is the ride on Cosmic Year the worst ride I've ever seen at Goodwood? Yes, absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt. I don't know what the hell Colin Keane thought he was doing. I have no... Colin Keane is a brilliant jockey. He's a phenomenal talent. He's too good to get stuck on the rail in a 4-runner race and get beaten like that. That was absolutely shocking. Oisin Murphy gave friend of the podcast, Seagulls 11, a great ride. Kept it simple. You're never getting up Oisin Murphy's inside. James Doyle is never going to let you get between him and Oisin Murphy. And Ryan Moore is going to make you go outside. So considering the fact that James Doyle was able to win on a top weight in a handicap going 7 wide, and everybody else was able to win going wide all week at Goodwood, I have no idea what Colin Keane thought he was doing by trying to go up Oisin Murphy's inside when there's no cutaway to come, by trying to go through Oisin Murphy and James Doyle, and then not go outside, but just sit there and then tell Lydia Hislop on Racing TV afterwards, oh, I didn't have the horse to go through. That was absolutely dire, Adam Mills.
The important thing, Emmet, is you're not bitter about it.
No, not at all. No lemons here. No lemons. No bitter taste in my mouth. Shocking ride.
It's a bit of a shame because this actually had a potential to be a really good race. And it became a little bit messy. Seagulls 11 has finally delivered, as we sort of said when we spoke about Ascot and kind of Hugo Palmer gelding operation. You make a profit with that system for a reason because when he takes the nuts off, he knows what he's doing and he's got to win. Fair play to him. Is he lucky? Probably. Cosmic Year ran the fastest penultimate furlong in 11.21 seconds.
What?
So this is an eight furlong contest on Cosmic Year, 11.21. That's the fastest penultimate furlong. So the idea that we didn't have the horse to go through the gap, I think the truth is we didn't have the gap to put the horse through.
Yeah.
So, you can forgive Cosmic Year to a certain point, but Cosmic Year is now a horse that you're going to have to start to continually forgive. And, that just would be a little bit of a concern for me, kind of like when you got that crazy ex-partner. The more time you forgive them, the more they let you down. So I think there is that slight scenario now with Cosmic Year that he's probably a Group 3 horse. They will win races with him. He probably should have won this race with a different ride. But at the same time, you'd think if at the start of the year, Cosmic Year was sort of third full favourite for the Guineas. If he was a Group 1 horse, would he not have still had the ability to get himself out of trouble? And I just think he's found his level. No one's looking at
Where does he go?
level.
There is no gap.
That's the problem. That is the problem. When you come to the 2-pole there is enough time to come out. Even if the 3 in front of you form a line, you've only got to go 4. He's not got to cross the track. It just felt a bit strange to think Oisin Murphy will come off that rail, because the place to ride Goodwood is on the rail. So he's not going to give it up. Then you're looking at the other two thinking, well, they're going to give me a gap. And then you're also in the scenario then of kind of, by the time he realises he's in the wrong place, it's too late. I don't think it's necessarily Colin King's fault. He's not ridden Goodwood that often. Probably, it's quite a unique test. But he's also been around a long time. And I watched plenty of racing in Ireland in midweek. And some of those tracks are particularly quirky and have tight bends, and track position is important. And you get a lot of hard luck stories there when the gaps don't open up. So Goodwood is surely just a glorified version of Sligo and Tremor. In terms of the layout, it is. It's tight.
Glorious Goodwood, glorified version of Sligo. The UK's answer to Sligo. Come to Glorious Goodwood.
No, I'm not attacking those courses. What I'm saying is he's got enough experience of riding quirky tracks that surely you look at that and think, I'll put my hands up here and say, what was I thinking?
I thought it was desperate that he wouldn't just say.
And it's hard for him. This is a big job. All the eyes are on him. He's just come back from a ban. He's missed Field of Gold, which he might be grateful of now, but he still missed it.
Yeah, he was lucky to miss Field of Gold.
It's a big job for him, and whereas he got everything perfect at Ascot, he's got this completely wrong. But I don't accept I didn't have the horse, because the sectional time suggests there was plenty of horse.
Yeah, it's bollocks to say that. I'll read you the time form race analysis, shall I? Cosmic Year is best excused the run, having somehow managed to get boxed in a 4-runner race. Not for the first time that this rider's unfamiliarity with British tracks has led to trouble in running this year. Oh, time form. Taken. No nonsense whatsoever. He's a good horse. He got no opportunity to showcase it there, though, Jamie.
Disaster, I call it, Emmet. A complete disaster by Keane, to be honest with you. The only thing is, I know he was second to Field of Gold, and he was a favourite for the Jean Prat and all that. And is he any good? I know Adams' sectional times is there. Like, what's he actually going to win? That's my problem with him. Do you know what I mean? And he should have won. There's no doubt about that. But my problem is that I don't think he's any good. So I won't be backing him ever again. I won't touch him until, like, it'll be the day, like, no one backs him, obviously, in some race, whatever group race, wherever it is in the world, and we'll all look like fools. But until he fools me, I won't touch him ever. I wouldn't touch him with your money and Adam's money in the whole world's money. He's just, I don't know. But he should have won. And we leave it at that.
He should at least be second. I wouldn't want to take anything away from Seagull's 11, because he was given a great ride, and it's a great training performance from Hugo Palmer, and we're fans of the horse, so we're glad to see him win. But Cosmic Year should at least be second to him. At least be. And give the horse the chance to actually run his race. Let him get into a fight. It's desperate stuff. Just desperate. Colin Keane's a great jockey, but you cannot be doing these shows and just saying, well, it was a great ride. It was a fabulous ride from Oisin in front, and he's done everything. What a shame for calling. No. When you're praising somebody for good work, then you also have to criticize them. I'm on TalkSport. We're bashing footballers, bashing managers every single day. Why are we not allowed to do it in horse racing? It's nonsense. Colin Keane's a great jockey. He's such a great jockey, he should never be getting boxed in a 4-runner race. That's desperate stuff. Absolutely desperate. Amateur hour stuff. Oh my goodness. Never mind. Because the best equine performance of the week came in America. Sierra Leone is back, baby. And now the clash. The clash of the titans. Old rivals. Godolphin have got sovereignty. Coolmore have got Sierra Leone. 2 horses who will be coming from off the pace, who are almost certain to get a mad, frenetic pace in the Breeders' Cup Classic. But which one will emerge on top? And Sierra Leone has just made history because he is the first ever Breeders' Cup Classic hero to defeat a previous Breeders' Cup Classic hero. White Habario is a former winner of the Classic, and Sierra Leone went right by him like he's not even there. How was Fierceness sent off favourite for this race at Saratoga, by the way, Adam? And why are people still obsessed with Fierceness? And how good is Sierra Leone as a 4-year-old?
Well, I mean, Sierra Leone was different gravy, and this was exceptional, really exceptional. I can understand, to a point, why Fierceness went off favourite, because this time last year, Fierceness was beating Sierra Leone. But I think Sierra Leone has improved massively. And the one thing you say about Sierra Leone, every time he runs, he has the longest average stride length. On the TPD day, I was kind of going back trying to find, like, where's there a race where he hasn't been able to lengthen, and he lengthens in all of them. Longest stride on Saturday, obviously, wears them down. This race with Sovereignty is going to be absolutely exceptional. Boy, I mean, I'm not a great one for dirt racing in the States. I find it a little bit crazy in terms of the way the start is more important than the finish, but he's got to give £4, I believe it is, to Sovereignty, so he's got that against him, but the two of them are just going to pull miles clear of the rest, aren't they? Surely they are. They look like Sierra Leone.
But what about journalism? Journalism is the highest rated horse in the world now. He's number 1, number 7. What about journalism, Adam?
American accent is terrible, man.
Oh, hold on. For the journalism fans, I'm sorry, there's a big bag of copium for you here. Hold on. Let me just reach down and get this copium for you.
Can I just say that as the husband of an American woman, I do not support this stereotypical accent that's being wheeled out here. I'm not really sure what part of America this is supposed to represent, but what I would say
the sort of like TV neutral Central North American accent, the kind of Benedict Cumberbatch style accent.
Yeah, I'm not sure you're going to get a BAFTA nomination anytime soon. But what I would say is kind of...
But what about journalism? What about journalism?
Well, now the kind of pattern, I guess, in my head, I'm thinking, well, Sovereignty goes to the Travers at Saratoga.
Yeah.
That's the obvious one for him. Surely doesn't come and take another beating. And journalism will go to the Pacific Classic, I think, is the route. The three of them are going to clash. You just see the Japanese have something for the race as well. I was trying to think, like, do I want to? I think you can. When I looked this morning, there was still sort of 5-1 around Sierra Leone. If I was going to be filthy, that's a nice each way bet, in my view. Sovereignty might beat him, but I don't see anything else that I think, that's going to do Sierra Leone. So if you wanted to have a bet in the Breeders' Cup Classic, the each way bet of 5-1 looks pretty fair to me. If you forced a gun to my head, I'd say that Sierra Leone will have too much for Sovereignty. But it would be a relatively tentative selection. But the stride is it's huge. Sierra Leone's got this massive raking long stride. The Breeders' Cup Classic, they'll go hell for leather from the gate. And I can just see him sort of getting to halfway down the back straight, and then you'll see him start to move like he did last year, and then when he starts to lengthen, he'll go past the likes of journalism in 2 strides.
Yeah,
because he'll just them. And Sovereignty is an exceptional 3-year-old, absolutely exceptional. The best 3-year-old in North America by a mile.
He's the best 3-year-old in the world.
He is, but he's yet to meet a horse of the ability of Sierra Leone in those final 2 furlongs. And if there's someone who's going to deliver the knockout blow, it's this lad. And I thought 5-1 for him was better than the 9-4 that I saw for Sovereignty.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. By the way, for the journalism fans out there, I really like the horse. He's a very, very likable racehorse. That performance in the Preakness Stakes where he rugby tackles his way to success was brilliant. He was brave in the Derby. He was brave in the Belmont. That's the point. Sovereignty went by him like he was nothing in the Derby, and he went by him like he was really nothing in the Belmont. There is no logical reason why journalism would ever turn that form around, unless Sovereignty somehow underperforms. That's the only reason that's the only reason that happens. And if Sovereignty underperforms, Sierra Leone will be there. So I just don't see how journalism wins. I think if you want to back him at 7-1, good luck to you. It doesn't interest me in the slightest. I was all about sovereignty, and somebody actually commented on YouTube, hey, but what about Sierra Leone? I had no problem with him getting beaten first time out this season because he'd had the injury setback. The whole reason of keeping him in training was, one, to go back-to-back in the Classic, but they also wanted to go for the Saudi Cup because it's worth gazillions, and the Dubai World Cup. And it might actually be to his benefit that was off the table, that he couldn't go to the Middle East because of the injury, because he's then had a much lighter start to the season. He would have needed his first run. He would have needed his second run. Third start off the layoff. He blitzes them. That was stunning. And I backed him at 6-1 Sunday morning. I'd back him again at 5s. I think it's very fair. Sovereignty is a huge player. Huge player. And there is something quite romantic about this. The last time a horse went back-to-back in the Breeders' Cup Classic, Tisnow defeated Giants Causeway. You had that famous Tom Durkin call, Tisnow wins it for America! In second place is the Coolmore-owned Giants Causeway. How special would it be if, 24 years later, 25 years later, Coolmore are the ones who get the only other back-to-back winner of the Breeders' Cup Classic, and in doing so, they defeat the Godolphin-owned Sovereignty. This is just set up to be an absolute spectacular race. I cannot wait for it. We're going to, please God, touch wood, we'll be building up to the Breeders' Cup with our American colleagues on the Final Furlong podcast, of course, with Adam as well. Jamie, were you staying up late Saturday night to watch the Fox Sports coverage of Saratoga? And if so, what's your thoughts on the dirt racing stateside?
I suppose the only crib I have about Sovereignty is, like, I know it's a 3-year-old campaign, but he's beating the same horses all the time, Journey. And I backed Baeza to win the Kentucky Derby, and I left it go in the Preakness, watched him again. And then I backed Baeza the last day to beat Sovereignty, again, getting him £4 in the Gin Denny. You still can't beat him, so that's the end of him. But journalism, no. It's between Sovereignty and Sierra Leone. I just watch them. I just like watch. I don't bet in it really. I might have an odd bet like Baeza there, for the sake of it. But I just watch it. It's good entertainment. But exactly, I will stress exactly what Adam Hill says. The race is won in the first 2 furlongs. It's not at the end of it. At the start. It's massively at the start, American racing, because you have to literally sprint to get into position and then stay on. But yeah, it's good fun. Am I totally in love with it? No.
I can't wait for it. Whether you're in Team Sovereignty or you're with us, Adam and I, with Team Sierra Leone, or if you're a journalism fan, good luck to you. Hey, the great thing about horse racing is these horses can improve out of nowhere. We keep seeing this year in year. Maybe you're right. Maybe there'll be egg all over my face. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe Cosmic Year is an absolute dud and he needs to be gelded. And I have to say, I'm sorry, Colin Keane. I'm sorry. That was absolute nonsense on my part. Or maybe that horse goes and wins a Group 2 the next day and you're like... and maybe journalism improves past Sovereignty and that's good enough to go and beat Sierra Leone. I don't think so. I think it's between those two. I think it's a clash. Coolmore versus Godolphin. And at the prices, it's got to be Sierra Leone. It has to be Sierra Leone at 5-1. But Sovereignty's a monster. I can't wait for that race. Okay, boys, we went longer than I intended. We don't... Well, these shows tend to be quite long anyway, but we had a lot to unpack. Anything else that you want to mention before we wrap up, Adam Mills?
Well, we should probably talk very briefly on Fallen Angel, who's done the business at Deauville. I don't know, that just felt like a messy race to me. I think Jamie's quite right with doing the runner-up, just not really wanting it. But it was a good performance for Fallen Angel. The track clearly suits. The straight course seemed to help. But for a Group 1, of all the Group 1s they run at Deauville over the summer, the Rothschild is generally the one that you think you can nick this from the front. And that's what happened. Really good gutsy performance, but I think it's easy to look gutsy when those in behind aren't particularly tough. And that's how it got with Fallen Angel.
Yeah, exactly. Tried it to challenge her on the front end. Then January tries. She keeps repelling them. Great for Danny Tudhope. Obviously, James Doyle rides her. James Doyle decided to ride Crimson Advocate. I don't know why. I like Crimson Advocate, but not at that level. I don't know what that was all about. But she's a lovely filly. She's a Group 1 winner, 2, 3, and 4. She's a credit to Carl Burke. She's going to go for the Matron Stakes next. Don't know what the story is with Porter Fortuna, whether she'll be back by the Matron. don't know what the story is with Lake Victoria either. Whether she can be back for the initial talk was the matron, then it was she might be done entirely. Hopefully that's not the case. If they bring her back as a 4-year-old, ooh, she'd be exciting. But it's a sort of a mad division, really, which is probably why Fallen Angel was able to go and win. And Royal Ascot wouldn't have suited her with the benefit of hindsight because the ground was just way too firm for her there. It was just right in France. If she gets similar circumstances in the Matron Stakes, she'd be a big player. Anything else for you, Jamie? Oh, and sorry, time form squiggle for January. She's very, very talented, but
squiggle, yeah, the turf form squiggle, the plus sign. No, I suppose the one thing Emmet that stood out from last year. We're going away from last week was the reversal of the Galway Hurdle.
Oh, are we talking jumps racing? Are we talking national hunt racing? That was an instant disqualification, by the way.
National hunt racing. Why?
Instant DQ.
Why?
He clearly leaned in on him, and the jockey didn't change the whip.
Yeah. But years ago, that wouldn't have been reversed.
No, but it's not years ago.
Race riding, get on with it. Do you know what I mean? Look, I think the best one. Yeah,
I could say the same thing. I could say the same thing to you about football. You're not allowed to tackle anymore. Oh no, contact. Oh dear, like that's.
I'd say it's desperately. Look, I think they're falling deaf ears trying to win it in an appeal. To be honest with you,
no chance.
They'll be treating no chance. But I think years ago that wouldn't have been thrown out. But I think everything's so scrutinized now with this camera angle, this drone footage here. That fair enough, it's there for a reason. But I think years ago that wouldn't have been thrown out. Not a hope in hell. And I'd be sick if I was doing a Helvig Triumph for that page. Yeah. But he did lean in, and there's no doubt about that. Race riding, though.
But it was. I don't know if you watched it, Adam. Like it didn't
look terrible, no.
It didn't look terrible. It was, and I didn't even notice it in the race itself. It was only until they did the instant replay on Racing TV, and then they showed the drone footage. And once you see the drone footage, I was watching the race with my friend Jim Delaney, and once you see the drone footage, I'm like, he said disqualified, and I went instant disqualification. He's gone. That race is going to be turned around, and I was sick because I nearly backed the winner, the eventual winner. I managed to talk myself out of it because I'm so focused on flat racing. I was like, that's going to be a half-hearted, not proper form study bet. But he's jumped out at you as it's Gordon Elliott, it's Galway. He hadn't won a Galway Hurdle before, but clearly this was a long-term plan. For Noel Meade to get a Group 1 performer on the flat back to peak form to win a Galway Hurdle and then have it taken off you is pretty sick. And it was also just great to see Noel Meade back in the big time winning a big race like that. But you can't begrudge Gordon Elliott either. He had a pretty brutal national hunt season. At least from January onwards, it was tough for him. So for him to dominate Galway, and then somehow, whatever the stupid system is there for champion trainer, for that to go to Willie Mullins and not Gordon Elliott is just, what?
It's ludicrous.
That was crazy. But it was a big week for Gordon. Obviously, he won the plate as well. But none of us have any real... I understand what you're saying about if this was years ago, Helvig Dream would have kept the race, but none of us really have any problem with Helvig Dream being disqualified. Do we?
I don't think so. The one thing I would say is this shows the need to use drone footage.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Surely in 2025 we can get a drone on every race course. Because actually, if you're in the stand, or if you're watching, at first glance, you're thinking, it's not that bad. And then you see the drone footage and realize, actually, this isn't a little bit of interference, it's quite a lot. And I do think that it shouldn't be a case that because it's a drone up, how hard would it be in the modern era just to stick a drone above every race course so that those stewards have got the ability to see that? Because in years gone by, they might have had 1 or 2 camera angles at most. That drone camera angle is ultimately, I think, what changed the decision. But it was the right decision. There's no doubt in my mind that was the right call.
Well, allegedly, Jamie, there's drone footage of every single racecourse in Britain and Ireland available for people on certain WhatsApp services. So I don't understand if that's available. I don't understand. We're not supposed to talk about that, Jamie, no?
We can't, it's not football.
All right, keep that one quiet.
Sorry. As Irish call it, soccer.
But Adam is right, though. Drone footage is essential for all of these racecourses. That is it for this episode of the Final Furlong podcast. I really hope you've enjoyed our look back at Goodwood, horses to follow, and even a little bit of American action and some Galway action as well. One horse to follow. Anything to follow us. When this show started, by the way, it was a bright light for Adam Mills. Darkness descends. It looks like he's in a hostage video now. Can we get the headline of a newspaper just to prove that you are alive? And the day and time as Jamie turns the light on in his place. Do you have a horse to follow going forward from what we've just seen, Adam Mills?
Oh, if you had to follow a horse, it would be Scandinavia. That was different gravy last week.
Yeah, he's going to take an awful lot of bidding in the St. Ledger, and it may very well be that Lambourne doesn't even turn up now because it looks as though Aidan O'Brien's got a stranglehold on the St. Ledger yet again. Jamie Wrenn, horse to follow.
Well, all the horse that ran last week, I'm not going to even mention a horse from Goodwood. It's just because the form has worked out very well, and I think that Aidan O'Brien's horse, Beautify, is a very horse to follow for us today.
Yeah, hard not to say that her form has been franked. I'm forced to say Cosmic Year. I have to say Cosmic Year. I'm so annoyed at that ride that if he doesn't bounce back and win next time out, if I don't put him forward as the horse to keep the faith in, just ignore that run. That bad day at the office for Colin Keane, top class jockey. Hey. Anyway, Cosmic Year hopefully gets back into the winner's enclosure sooner rather than later. That's it from Adam Mills. Adam, what's your next content for TPD? Would it be by any chance the Sugar Cup?
Not quite, actually. No, we've got the Racing League, so there'll be a preview of Thursday's meeting from Chepstow and ATR. She got tomorrow evening. And then we are working our way very slowly through the Sugar Cup on Saturday. So we should have a preview for that coming up as well.
And if you're really lucky, we will do a preview of the Sugar Cup field right here on the Final Furlong podcast. I know what you're saying. No, you shouldn't, lads. You shouldn't. That's too much effort for us. If you're really lucky, if we get enough likes on this video, if you smash the like button enough on this video, we might treat you to a Sugar Cup special. Jamie Wrenn, when's the next Ginger Joe racing show?
It'll be out tomorrow night or Thursday morning. Usual time, same bat channel.
Same bat time, same bat channel for Ginger Joe, Liam, Jamie, and the crew. That's it. We're back with you on Thursday. Oh, look, we're going to give it to you anyway. Hey, just give us the likes. Just smash the like button. Just do it for us. That's all we're asking of you. Hit that like button. We don't ask for much. From Adam Mills, Jamie Wrenn, and me, Emmet Kennedy, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Your support of the show means a lot. So much so, I will leave in that ridiculous mistake as opposed to editing it out carefully and considerately. From Adam, from Jamie, and from me, we'll talk to you again very, very soon in the Final Furlong podcast. Look after yourself and each other. God bless.
Thanks for spending some time with us on the Final Furlong podcast. We're independent media, so if you like what we do, hit like, share, and subscribe. It's free, it's quick, and it genuinely helps. And if you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more where that came from. Don't miss out. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major platforms, and join us on the gravy train. The Final Furlong podcast, independent, unfiltered, and powered by you.